yes, progressive policies have not helped the black community. And the majority of black people do not like these progressive policies. They're just used to them because that's all they're used to. Thank you so much for liking your comments and subscribing to the channel. Please share this with your friends. Smash that like button. Smash the subscription bell. Share this with everybody you know. We're trying to make sure people understand that they're not victims, that they are empowered for greatness, and all this stuff that's out here that's telling them otherwise is false and will not benefit them in the end. So please, I appreciate that. Share that. As black people, we have a tendency to tear down each other in order to elevate ourselves. And I speak this as a person who believes in biblical values, as a person who is a Christian that has black skin, as a person who loves all people, but in particular black people, because to live in this earth, God allowed me to be born to a black mother. And so I love black people. I know black people. And the sad part about it is a lot of black people are using their platforms to tear down other black people to elevate themselves. And I'm talking about those on the so-called political left and those on the so-called political right. And I say this because some of you may be aware and some may be not. Larry Elder is running for governor in the state of California as part of the recall of Gavin Newsom. And there was a recent article published about him in the LA Times. And there are some disparaging things said about him that talk about how will bring Jim Crow back. Jim Crow never was in existence in Los Angeles, so whoever said this was lying through their teeth. Jim Crow never existed in Los Angeles, point blank, like it existed down south. But there are some other things that people said about him in this article that was written, essentially as a motivating tool to get black Democrats out to vote. Because this is a tactic that the left uses all the time on black people. They use fear. You know, fear has been the driving force in the past year and a half with all the things going on surrounding mandates and vaccine passports. It is fear. The fear that people will miss out. The fear that people will lose their job. The fear that people will lose their entertainment that is pushing them to make decisions that I believe are not in their best interest. And this is the same tactic that liberals and progressives have been using in the black community.
Federal troops went home. Democrats roared back into power in the South. They quickly reestablished white supremacy across the region with measures like black codes, laws that restricted the ability of blacks to own property and run businesses, and they imposed poll taxes and literacy tests used to subvert black citizens' right to vote. And how was all of this enforced? By terror, much of it instigated by the Ku Klux Klan, founded by a Democrat, Nathan Bedford Forrest. As historian Eric Foner, himself a Democrat, notes, in effect, the Klan was a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party. President Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, shared many views with the Klan. He resegregated many federal agencies and even screened the first movie ever played at the White House, the racist film, The Birth of a Nation, originally entitled The Klansman.
It's the same tactic they've been using to drive up the vote. They've used it before when it came to, quote unquote, the Jim Crow laws, voting laws that were going to be passed, that were passed recently this year. They've used this same tactic to get black people out to vote. Whenever there is a conservative running against a liberal, they use this fear. They use fear mongering. They use the race card. They don't use truth. They use lies and fear to get people out to vote. And it's sad, but it's true. But they're not the only ones that do it. Conservatives do
Bush
it as
and
well.
Dukakis on crime. Bush supports the death penalty for first-degree murderers. Dukakis not only opposes the death penalty, he allowed first-degree murderers to have weekend passes from prison. One was Willie Horton, who murdered a boy in a robbery, stabbing him 19 times. Despite a life sentence, Horton received 10 weekend passes from prison. Horton fled, kidnapped a young couple, stabbing the man and repeatedly raping his girlfriend. Weekend prison passes. Dukakis on crime.
They use fear. They're using the situation going on at the border. They're using the fear of that to drive out their base. So they both do it. Both parties do it, and it's sad because fear has torment. And God says he's not giving us a spirit of fear. So as Christians, we should not be moved by fear. Fear of those coming from another country, nor fear from someone that's so-called a white supremacist. There should not be any kind of fear that is motivating us. But when I read this article, it's funny. Despite what you think of Larry Elder and despite what I think of Larry Elder, he has touched a nerve out in California to the point that he has a good shot of winning this thing. But the sad part about it is a lot, and it's funny, in this article they say that black people are not a monolith, but yet they go and pretty much disparage those people who would even consider voting for Larry Elder, calling him the black face on white supremacy. Why would you attack another black man from South Central California and call him the black face on white supremacy? See, all this stuff about white supremacy continues to feed the narrative that black people are victimized and oppressed. But we are not victims. We are empowered for greatness. This stuff is not true. Is there racism? Yes, because racism is a spirit. But we don't focus on racism. We don't focus on the atrocities of the past to dictate how we will operate in the future. That is a tactic and a ploy that is used by those who want to drive a wedge and divide this country, period. That's the only reason they keep harping on this. Not for so-called social justice, because if they really wanted justice socially, then they would be doing the same kind of efforts they do when a police officer who is white shoots a black man. They'll use that same effort and the same energy and go to the inner cities and come up with programs that truly help the community. Progressive policies have not helped the black community. And the majority of black people do not like these progressive policies. They're just used to them because that's all they're used to. The majority of black people are not happy with these progressive policies, but the more generations are conditioned to become dependent upon the government, the harder it is to take them off the government dime, and the more easy it is for the government to control their lives. And that's what's going on. And a lot of these progressives in the media, a lot of progressives in government, and a lot of progressives, unfortunately, in the church would rather you depend upon the government than depend upon Almighty God. Period. Point blank. But I'm here to tell you, we are not victims. We are empowered for greatness, and we have to stop tearing each other down. Disagree intellectually. Disagree with policies and plans. Do not use a spirit of fear. The spirit of fear, that is the driving force, and the Democrats love to use it tremendously in the black community. It's their go-to. When all else fails, let's drum up some fear in the community. Let's drum up fear that, oh, if you elect this person, he's gonna reinstitute Jim Crow. If you elect this person, oh man, the black code is gonna come back. Oh man, the literacy test is gonna come back. Oh man, we won't be able to go into the store anymore. Crazy stuff like that. But it's the fear that they're using. It's the fear. The fear of the unknown is what they're using. Instead of treating black people with respect, with dignity, that they have agency, and they will actually present their ideas to them. No, they use fear. They use fear. And unfortunately, a lot of black people fall for that. That's why they vote majority Democrat. Despite everything the Democratic Party stands for is contrary to what black people believe. Black people are not a monolith, but black people are conservative. Black people are not a monolith, but the majority of black people uphold biblical values. But see, it's the changing of this culture that is driving the secularism in the black community. Instead of having a culture that's founded on biblical values, having a culture that's founded on belief in God, the culture now is driven by athletes, entertainers, anti-God, secular humanists that give license to every deviant behavior. And that leads to victimization, and that leads to polarization. But we cannot be moved by fear. We cannot be moved by oppression, because we are not victims. We are not oppressed. We are empowered for greatness. And when people recognize that, they will no longer settle for this less than standard approach by anybody, Democratic or Republican. Approach them with dignity. Approach them with respect. Approach them as if they can think for themselves. That's what we have to get to in order to see change in our political structures. That's what we have to get to if you want to see change in this country. We have to change this culture, people. We have to change this culture. You have to choose who's on the Lord's side. You have to choose who you're going to listen to. As Elijah said to the people, why do you hawk between two opinions? Choose you, like Joshua said. Choose you this day who you will serve. That's up to you. The choice is yours. You have the choice. That's the beauty of it. You have the choice. Don't let fear drive you. You are not victim. I am not victim. We are empowered for greatness.